don't look distant. Action! Welcome to the period panel. No,
I'm Orla.
I'm Neve.
We're sisters.
We're Neve and Orla. We are two sisters that came from swimming. We were swimming as children and then moved into club swimming. We want to talk a bit about what it's like to swim when you have your period, and a lot of people are kind of intimidated by swimming when they're on their periods, so we want to kind of encourage people to try to swim, and if you're somebody that's 12 or 13 or 14 or just experiencing their period for the first time, to let you know that it's not impossible to be a club swimmer and to continue to start to have your period.
The sport you actually enjoy.
Okay. So, tell us about the first time you got your period, Orla, when you were swimming.
The first time I got my period was the weekend of a swimming competition. I think I got it the Friday night and I had a competition Saturday morning. So there was a bit of panic kind of setting in because I had absolutely not a clue what to do. I think I kind of just went down to Mum, panicked a bit, and she was like, "You'll be grand." I don't actually know what we did in the end.
No?
Obviously I had to use a tampon because there was no way I was going around the pool without one. Yeah, I think I just used a tampon and eventually figured it out.
So the first day that you had your period when you swam was competition?
Yeah.
And were you nervous when you had to do the competition? Like, were you conscious of it the
Yeah,
whole
I was
day?
really self-conscious. I said it to one of the other swimmers that was a girl. I said to her, I was like, "In case you see anything, please tell me." And she's like, "Oh, that's fine." I think she was a few years old. She was like maybe a year and a half older than me, so she didn't mind. Like, it didn't seem to bother her. I think I only had 1 or 2 races, so I was actually fine. I wasn't there for very long, but I think that was I was thinking about that more than I was thinking about my race, at all. There was not a hope I was concentrating on times or anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you?
Interestingly enough, mine was a Wednesday, the weekend before I was racing. So we were racing on the Saturday and Sunday, so I think I had slightly more time. And Mom basically handed me a box of tampons and was like, "There's your instructions, go and have a little look and see if you can figure that out." So went in and tried it, and then there was junior training on the Thursday, so we basically went down to this 45-minute session that I hadn't been at for a long time because I wasn't a junior swimmer anymore. We got stuck in really bad traffic and arrived for the last 15 minutes of the session, and I just sauntered out, got in the pool, swam up and down to see what it was like. I guess it was fine. Everybody was like, "All right, cool." And I was like, "Okay, bye."
What did the coaches say?
But they would have known, and I guess from both of our perspectives, we swam in the same club, and we were lucky that we had 3 female coaches. I wouldn't say that it was talked a lot within swimming at that point, but it definitely made it easier. I think if you didn't really feel well, or if you suddenly ran off to the bathroom, they didn't really question you, or that type of thing. I know from my experience, we did talk about nutrition and stuff with swimming, but we didn't really cover periods at that point. But I am 6.5 years older than Orla, and you said that at some point in the club they did discuss periods a bit. So I swam with the senior squad since I was 11, so I was with them longer than I was with the juniors. They were trying to make it more obvious and comfortable for the juniors or transitions, whichever were dealing with it, for it to be something that you could talk about and approach the coaches with if you had any concerns. So I guess our head coach always thought that I was quite a talkative person and people could approach me, so she asked me and I think 2 other girls from the senior squad to do not
not a panel, but like kind of sit down and have the only two of the female coaches actually went, and then any junior or transition squad that wanted to go. So we just sat in a room and it was like an open floor and they could just ask questions, and I guess we talked about it at the beginning, or like our coach kind of talked about it and was like, it's inevitable that it's going to happen and everybody gets them, that's life and that's how your body works. But yeah, it wasn't talked about for us, but we, I guess, helped them
facilitate.
Yeah, and kind of make it slightly more open, because then it was like as if the ice was broken for the juniors to talk about it amongst themselves then, because that had happened. Whereas like one of the juniors said, she was like, well, I haven't talked about it to with my friends, to any of them, but I'm glad this happened or something, which was actually kind of nice because you felt as if you helped them then, so it was good.
Yeah, so basically the idea of talking about it is that it allows younger swimmers or people in any different sport to, you know, approach a teammate or their parents or their siblings or a coach and like understand that it is okay to talk about it. And like realistically 50% of the world is going to have a period at some point in their life, and it's like not something that should deter someone from being in sports. So I never felt that I couldn't participate in sport because I had my period, but I know a lot of people that were put off by it. And I guess from the day that I was literally handed a box of tampons, that was like never presented to me as an option, that I wouldn't swim. Like I was racing that weekend, and like I was the type of child that would have been like, no, I'm absolutely racing, but it was also something that I had to overcome within a few days to like get into the pool and race for a whole weekend. But the way that it was handled with how my mom dealt with it meant that it never entered my mind that it was something that was going to stop me from participating in sport. And that's like, you know, years and years later, like we still participate in and have done lots, like between the two of us, we've done lots of different sports, and that hasn't ever stopped us from doing so. Like obviously there are experiences that do kind of like it does make you more self-conscious, and particularly in swimming, like it's not the easiest sport to deal with it, but it does happen to everybody, and like there's lots of different situations that people end up in, so everybody just has to get on with it. And like the more of a topic, the more that it can be discussed, like the easier it is for everybody. It makes it like just more socially acceptable, and there's like no reason that people shouldn't be able to talk about it. So like we just kind of want to put it out there for people that, you know, you can talk about it and you can deal with it.
I guess why it's good for us to talk about swimming is swimming you have to deal with it straight away. There's no avoiding it. You can't just set aside and like avoid it, because if you want to get into the pool you have to deal with it, otherwise everyone's going to see. Whereas with doing athletics you can still get away with pads and everything, you don't have to deal with tampons. I know a lot of my friends got away with pads for years, like wouldn't have gone near tampons because they're afraid of them, and they would have always found it so weird and so bizarre that the minute I got my period was the minute I started using tampons, because it was within 24 hours that I had to use one. And I know some people can't use tampons just the way they're made, but I think that it, like,
there's a lot of people out there that can and are just fearful of them.
Yeah.
And like I've never had a bad experience in experiencing like pain or a reaction, and obviously there's a lot out there about toxic shock syndrome or, you know, discomfort, and sometimes it's about, you know, trying one size or trying another size and see you know,
and different
what's more comfortable,
well.
or if you put it in an uncomfortable way, like just take it out and try a different one. Like it just mightn't have been, you mightn't have put it in correctly. But like what I think is hard is like for people who their mom might have a fear of tampons, so never encourage them, and then kind of pass that fear onto their daughter. And it doesn't have to be that way. Like if you want to try a tampon, do. And obviously tampons aren't for everybody. In swimming, kind of, if you aren't using a tampon, I don't really know how you can go around it. Like the menstrual cup is something that people are exploring. I haven't personally used it and swam with it, but it's a possibility, and you know, you can try it, and if it works for you, great. If it doesn't, then you know, try something else. But like, especially in swimming, like you kind of have to figure it out for yourself, or you're not really going to swim. Like, you're not going to be a club swimmer. You know, you can't really take a week off once a month if you want to be competing at
any level.
Yeah,
really.
So I guess my friends would have been puzzled a bit, but also it's something that's not really discussed when you're 12, 13, 14. Like, I guess the older I've gotten, the more my friends talk about having their periods, and like now people in their mid-20s, late 20s, like they just don't care. And it's a much more open topic, and I think the younger people, like, I feel like your friends probably discuss it more, or would have more, I think, like.
Well, I remember when I first got my period, I remember going into one of my friends in school the next day, and it was this big secret. Like, we were walking down the corridor to school, and I was like, Lucy, I have to tell you something. And it was like as if it was Santa came or something. Like, it was ridiculous. And it's
yeah, so like when you're in the pool, nobody's gonna like see anything if you do need to change your tampon. Like, nobody's gonna even notice, because like you won't even notice. The only time that you will notice is if you get out of the pool and you might have a little trickle down the back of your leg. It has happened to me. It's happened to you. And like the first time it happened to me, I think I was like, it was within the first year of having my period, and it just kind of rolled down the back of my leg, and one of the other girls noticed. So one of the girls was like a couple years older than me, and she was like, come on, and she walked me out. Went into the change room, got sorted, and then went back out to the pool and like carried on. That only happened because we got out, because we were doing like diving or we were doing relays or something, so it only happened when we got out of the pool. But like when you're in the pool, like it would have been no issue, and that was just it. But,
and did anybody else kind of watch you walk away, or kind of pose any questions when you came back, or?
No, I think it happened again. So I think the tampons that I was using at that point were too small. So I think it happened again within a short like space of time. So I actually finished up the session early, like we were nearly finished, and that was that. Like, but nobody really queried. I think they thought I just didn't really feel well or something, and that was fine. You know, you don't have to tell everybody like why you're getting out of the pool. It's none of their business. But if you want to tell them, like, that's totally fine too. It did happen another time when I was older, and I guess I wasn't as conscious about it, and it was one or two of the girls said to me, they're like, oh, are you bleeding or something? And I was like, oh, I don't know. I understood what it was. Like, nobody else noticed, and I was like, oh, okay. And we were just like nearly finished, and I think I just went out, changed it or whatever. We were nearly finished anyway, so it didn't really matter. One thing that I'd say, if you have your period and you're still training, I would have always gone with dark swimming togs, because if it does happen to you and you're like diving or something and you're wearing like pink togs or light blue togs or something, like, you might notice it, where if you are wearing like dark navy or black togs or something like that and you do happen to get it, it doesn't really you don't really notice it.
I had the most colourful and sparkly swimming togs that you could ever find.
Like, I always had colourful togs, but I always had darker togs that I wore sometimes if I had my period, just in case something happened.
Interesting.
You also experienced leaking. Tell us what happened to you.
Yeah, I was at life-saving. So at swimming, I think you obviously know everybody in your swimming club and you're quite comfortable with each other, and you spend like 5 or 6 times a week with each other. Early mornings you see everybody in their natural moody habitat, so like if I had a leak at training, I probably wouldn't have worried about it as much, because
you knew everybody.
Yeah, everybody, like you know everyone. So mine was actually at Life Saving on a Friday evening, which has so many people. Also so many people you don't know. I would have known a good few, because a lot of people that were involved in Life Saving were actually from our swimming club. So like, I think 2 of the Life Saving teachers would have been actually 2 of my coaches from training, and then a lot of the swimmers wanted to get Life Saving qualifications, so they also would have done it.
On with the story.
Whatever. But yeah, I was just, I think we had done some like rescues, and then I got out and we had the extra clothes on, so like the t-shirt and the trousers, and I just took them off or whatever, and it was on the back of my leg, and I think I noticed kind of, but it didn't kind of click with me at first because I kind of forgot. And then one of the girls from swimming who would have been in the transition squad that was in my group actually just told me, and I just walked out and changed it like it wasn't that big of a deal. And I think I put on the pajama shorts that I was wearing in the pool back on just when I was walking out, because there would have been a lot of people sitting that like on the, what's that called again? The bank? Spectator area. There was a lot of people there on a Friday night because all like all their kids. Whereas on a swimming morning there was like 2. Yeah, it's fine.
Were you traumatized?
Not really.
Did you get over it?
Yeah.
Were you okay today?
Absolutely splendid.
Okay. I think.
Are you okay today?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I made it through. Like, realistically, it happens to
Everyone.
Like, everybody gets their period, like, if you're a girl. But it's to not let it stop you from doing something, and if you want to go swimming, like, go swimming. Orla was talking about, like, she experienced pain with swimming, and I was lucky that I didn't really find it impacted my training when I was swimming. I have found in other ways that having my period impacts like different types of training, so it has impacted me running, it has impacted me in weight training, but when I was swimming I actually never really had that much of a difficulty with it. Sometimes I would have had like small bits of cramps, but it wasn't that bad, but you experienced it much worse.
Yeah, I would have had training sessions that I would have gone home from early. I would have had to call my mum to get her to come collect me, and I would have probably missed training sessions as well because I would have gotten sick, or like the previous night or that morning, or I would have been up all night with cramps, or there had been a few times that I was like quite weak and I got out of the pool but I couldn't stand up again, so I'd sit on the side of the pool. I think my cramps were a lot worse. My cramps didn't start for me at the beginning. I think my cramps got a lot worse the second year in, and I was actually I was swimming more in my second year that I had my period, but since then
I probably experienced them a lot worse than other people though.
Yeah, to an extent, I guess. Like, I do know a lot of people that have worse than I have had, but I guess in my circle I seem to have kind of got it worse than others.
Yeah, well, there is that too. Like, some people experience cramps, and I think sometimes it can just be 1 or 2 bad days.
Yeah.
And like, there are going to be days where you have to get out of the pool, or you have to adjust your training or something. Like, it's not going to be the end of your, you know, getting that personal best or stopping you from achieving what you want. Like, if you have to take a day off, like, that's just the way it is, and like, it's, they could be fine.
I can describe.
Like and describe?
I can describe.